Welcome back to another episode of What Are We Watching? All right, bonus episode time.
Bonus time.
Let's go. I kind of liked how we both hopped in on that.
Yeah.
We've never done that before.
Yeah, we try sometimes. Sometimes I do this.
And he's a pop. Sometimes he'll just spit on the mic. He'll just So we welcome to our bonus episode. The title of this one, I don't think we decided on the title, but basically it's My Blue Fella, the Henry Hill story.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Did you just figure it out?
You nailed it.
Damn. People are going to be clicking on this, be like, oh, cool, the Henry Hill, My Blue Fella, the Henry Hill story. And then they're going to hear how we decided it, which is right now. So, Keith, give us a little overview of what this episode is going to be about.
So, we just covered My Blue Heaven and Goodfellas. Two movies written by two halves of a couple, Nick Pileggi and Nora Ephron. I think this would be if you and Emily decided to create stories. Goodfellas would be your story.
You think that would be my story?
Yeah, and Emily would have like a spin that would be probably funnier.
It'd be a musical,
like softer, like more fun.
Yeah,
but it would be like you know what I mean. Like this is what I feel like.
Yeah,
you guys would do.
That's
probably not accurate, but
no, that says a lot about your opinion of me. So that's cool.
Yeah, you're like a violent.
I mean, I do tell you, I love war movies.
No, but so both movies cover Henry Hill, and they both come out like 1 month apart, which is insane.
Yeah.
And so we were like, oh, once we realized the crossover kind of between the two and the differences and how the two movies are completely different, but are like related, we decided we should probably do like a little bonus, like for somebody that actually would give a shit about that, like us. So
it deserved its own mini episode. Yeah. So to start us off, so like you said, Goodfellas was the most recent episode. I think by the time this one comes out, this will be 2 days later. Like this episode will release 2 days after the Goodfellas episode.
Yeah.
So Goodfellas is kind of like the first part of Henry Hill's life.
Yeah.
And then My Blue Heaven at the end of Goodfellas, when he does his whole, he's like, I was like an average schnook, like in the no-named, undisclosed little, cookie cutter neighborhood. That is where My Blue Heaven starts. Do you want to take us away from there?
Yeah, so there's like a tiny bit of the movie that's in both, and that's just the trial where he has to name his who he's selling out. So he names Paulie and
I don't remember what his name. What was his name in My Blue Heaven?
Oh, Gotso.
Gotso.
That's all they say is Gotso, I think, right? Yeah. His last name is Gotso.
Yeah,
that's who basically Vinny is in My Blue Heaven. So that's the only part that really is covered in both. Well, I guess what's cool about the end of Goodfellas is they show the neighborhood that he moves into, the witness protection program, and it's that bright green grass.
Yeah, well, that's
it's
what
like
I was saying.
Exact.
It's the continuation.
It really is.
Yeah,
and I don't think
Steve Martin's interpretation is way better.
He's just like a high strung bit the entire movie.
It's pretty great.
Where Ray Liotta's like dead on, like what Henry Hill would have been actually like.
Oh yeah. So I think it'd be cool to give a little rundown about who Henry Hill is. So like the guy behind both of these characters. So Henry Hill, I mean, is that cool? I feel like that'd be cool. What if you were like no and then stormed out of the house?
Dude, that's not what we talked about. Well, we didn't talk about shit.
We didn't plan any of this. So Henry Hill was born in 1943. This is just basically his description from Wikipedia. He's an American mobster who was associated with the Lucchese crime family of New York from 1955 until 1980, when he was arrested on narcotics charges and became an FBI informant. Hill testified against his former mafia associates, resulting in I'm just like reading this live, 50 convictions.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He turned on everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was looking at like some pretty not chill time, including those of Capo Regime, the Capo, Paul Vario, and fellow associate James Burke on multiple charges. Entered the witness protection program. This says he was removed from the program.
Yeah.
Did they just like kick people out basically, or was he just like going rogue?
Like in My Blue
Heaven,
he keeps fucking up.
Yeah,
that happens in real life though, but it gets worse. So My Blue Heaven is like a colorized like comical version of what actually happens with him.
Yeah.
But he's a hardened dude that just cannot stay away from drugs. So using them and selling them. Yeah, he gets arrested again. He basically becomes useless to them.
Yeah.
After that, because
he's arrested and he
keeps fucking up. He does like despicable things the whole time. He's just always in trouble.
So this is like the My Blue Heaven side of the story. Like he's in the witness protection program. He basically didn't stop doing crime. It was just with a bunch of people that I don't know if that. Do you know if that part was true about the where all of his friends were and stuff like that? Because in My Blue Heaven, it's basically he gets moved to Mobville, USA. Is essentially
he goes to San Diego with what's his name
in real life?
Sparrow. He moves into the same.
Is that real?
No.
Oh
no. That's My Blue Heaven.
Yeah,
San Diego. No, in real life, he goes to Omaha first, then gets relocated to Kentucky, and then gets relocated to Washington State, all because of different issues. Like the whole time a hit's out on him.
Yeah.
From prison, a hit is out on him that I think I don't think anyone actually made an actual attempt on him, but they had to keep moving him because people found out, he's in the Midwest, we got to move him.
We got to get out of here.
So they just found out that he was in the Midwest. Like the FBI found out that people knew that he was in the Midwest. That's all they knew. And that was enough to send him to Washington. Yeah. But the difference though is his wife, Karen, is with him, and the two kids, he has a son and a daughter, they're with him in real life. They obviously didn't show that in My Blue Heaven because it would make that would be miserable.
Yeah, that would not be.
Yeah, that would be way less fun if his kids were involved and his wife was actually there, because I'm sure it was a life of hell for the kids. Oh yeah, that probably sucked being in the. And I've actually seen an interview with both his kids. It's like a splice interview with him and both his kids. Yeah, like there were years, a very long time that they never spoke. I think they did before he did pass away. They did kind of rekindle that. Okay, but there was in the interview they actually play footage of his son talking about him to him for the first time. Oh, that's kind of crazy interview. Yeah, that seems pretty wild. But, so he's kind of done a lot. I'm just looking at Henry Hill in general. So My Blue Heaven was based on his life. What we were just talking about. Goodfellas based on his life. There was a made-for-TV movie called The Big Heist that was based on the Lufthansa heist, which he was a part of. He was in that movie. He did an interview. Wait, he's in the movie?
No, he was portrayed his character.
Shit. I was like, bro.
No.
Oh, he's probably still in hiding during that.
Yeah, no. He did a 60 Minutes interview at the 20th anniversary of Goodfellas, which is I just think that's so wild.
So that's actually right before he passed away.
Yeah. It's and then this just says that him and Ray Liotta appeared in a photo shoot, just basically they were hanging out, which I think is kind of wild. It's I don't know. He's just a very interesting story. I think it's kind of cool to see how this one movie, thinking bigger is, this one movie, you had Steve Martin involved on the My Blue Heaven side. You had all these big people in comedy get involved. Then you had the making of Goodfellas, which led to the creation of The Sopranos, which was ended up, we talked about this in the last episode, but I almost said My Blue Heaven was in the National Film Archive. It should be. Goodfellas, it's in the National Film Archive. So it's kind of incredible when you start to look at it, the impact that his kind of firsthand account of being in the mob, what it led to, which I don't know. Yeah. I think that's it. Literally, we're talking about on a dipshit podcast about it. So it's kind of wild.
He's a stool pigeon.
He's a what?
He's a dirty rat. He's stool pigeon.
He's a rat bastard.
That's from My Blue Heaven. But that it's just wild.
It's just wild. He sold spaghetti sauce.
Oh, he actually was a chef at a restaurant too.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you, I was watching this other interview where it's him older, he's interviewing. It's 2006 probably. He's interviewing, but there's just shots of him just pouring shots on girls in a bar,
really,
and kissing them on the cheek and stuff. He can't. And there's another person that comes on because his friend. He's he can't. He won't lie except if it's about alcohol. He can't give up alcohol. He can't give up his life. He was still doing the bad things he was doing as an older man before he died. He never gave it up, no matter where he was. Yeah, in his non-disclosed locations. But he was. I forgot what his restaurant was called.
I don't think it doesn't say it, but that's just really funny. Can you imagine that be compliments to the chef?
The interview, there was a clip of him just making sauce, and I was like, dude, this is too fucking crazy.
That is pretty wild. But yeah, I mean, he was arrested like after his time in the witness protection program. He was arrested a couple times too, which is like pretty wild. His
All the way
wife
up to,
Karen,
like 2005, right, or something like that.
yeah, this
like,
is 2000.
something wild.
In 2009, he was sentenced to 2 years of probation after pleading guilty to 2 misdemeanors. Oh, public intoxication. That's kind of.
But yeah, no, he's still running drugs into the 2000s.
That's wild. Oh yeah, drug paraphernalia. 2004, he was arrested. He was sentenced to 180 days in prison for the attempted methamphetamine possession. I don't know how you attempt. I guess that's like you tried to buy it, maybe.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. I haven't attempted to possess methamphetamine.
So that's the other thing that's different, though, in My Blue Heaven is he gets married to Crystal.
Yeah.
Right? In that, but like he's still married in the real life. He's still married to Karen until like I think they separated in like 1989 or something.
No, it was a lot later than that. I think they ended up getting separated. I actually just saw it.
I thought in the movie they say it. I thought it was 89.
No, it was finalized in 2002.
Oh, so
Yeah.
maybe they separate 89 and then they're finally divorced in 2000.
Well, if in My Blue Heaven, he's still technically married to his first wife.
That's
after
true.
he meets.
And he's married to his second wife.
Yeah,
I didn't look that up. I wanted to know if that was true or not.
It looks like it is. So Karen Friedman, which is Henry
Karen.
Hill's wife, which is portrayed by I can't remember her name in Goodfellas. She plays the psychiatrist.
Bracco.
Yeah, she plays a psychiatrist in The Sopranos. For any fans of The Sopranos, he was married to her from 65 to 89, and then married someone else in 1990, and they ended up getting divorced. But yeah, it's just wild. I don't know how. I guess this episode just turned into like the Henry Hill story.
That's what it's called, bro.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
We were just talking about the difference in the movies. But it's called the Henry Hill story. Come on.
The Henry Hill. Yeah, that's true. He was in the military, which I thought was kind of wild.
Yeah, they don't cover that in
either
Goodfellas,
one.
right?
No, they,
because
either one they don't cover.
He starts out as like a hand at the cab stand, doing small time stuff, and then he goes away to the military and comes back.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the gap where maybe they just cut.
I guess
that.
I guess
that's the
that
gap
must be
where
the gap.
One gap in the movie where he like is younger, being a hoodlum.
Yeah.
Oh my god, one thing we didn't talk about in Goodfellas is when he starts working for them.
The guy gets shot. Yeah.
They put the mailman's head in the pizza oven.
Yeah, because he's basically they delivered a delinquency notice from his school, like a truancy notice.
He's like, any mail that he gets.
Yeah, he's like, any mail that comes from that school goes directly to us. Like,
and he puts
his head in the pizza oven. That's pretty wild. So yeah, I mean, he said so. That was all true. He said he was 13, and he would serve drinks and sandwiches at like a card game that was hosted by the mafia.
Yeah.
So that whole like tipping thing that they joke around in My Blue Heaven, where he's like, that's my philosophy. I overtip. Like, that's my philosophy, which is just fucking an awesome line. And then in Goodfellas, how he's tipping everybody. Apparently Jimmy, like he learned that from Jimmy. He kind of saw like, oh, this will get you places. Like people will enjoy this.
Oh yeah.
I just think that's just hilarious to me that he's like 13 selling drinks to like mob members. Yeah.
So the one thing I didn't look up is if Barney was based on somebody real. I don't know if it's actually based off like an agent that's assigned to him or not.
Yeah.
That keeps getting him out of trouble. Obviously, there's no way it's as funny. His life was not as funny. Like I don't think he probably did have the supermarket thing is probably based on reality, but there's no way it was as funny as him walking by just tagging an entire section of beef and then stealing it. Or, not stealing it, but getting it for 39 cents a piece or whatever.
Yeah, he gets the 5-figure discount where you just take it.
Well, that's for free.
Yeah, that's free. So near free. It's not. I don't see.
Like I don't know if that's true.
I don't think that the whole Barney Cooper Smith thing is true.
I think that's what I'm saying. Where it's like two completely different stories.
Yeah,
you know?
But it's based on the same thing. Like the book. I just got to look into this book, Wise Guy. Like I feel like we've been talking about it for so long. So this came out. The book that started both of these was out in 1985.
1985, yeah.
It looks like it was 250-ish pages, and again, it follows the life of Henry Hill, which is who we're talking about.
But yeah, that's the cool part about Goodfellas. Every time I'm like, I was listening to stuff, watching stuff. Every time I'm like, oh, okay, I wonder if that was real.
Yeah,
both heists in the movie are real.
Yeah.
Billy Bats, that whole thing is absolutely real.
Yeah, it's all real.
And like everything that happens is real.
Now,
and you're like, how the fuck is it? Like, you're like, oh, there's got to be some Hollywood. Now
No,
I know
a lot of it's-
there is some Hollywoodized,
There's some churching up, I'm
some
sure.
little turns
but
and twists, but like all the violent shit is real
yeah, it's wild when you think about it.
and it's crazy.
Now, so trying to link these two movies together, what do you think would have been the funniest scene to have Ray Liotta in My Blue Heaven and Steve Martin in Goodfellas? Like if you had to switch the Henry Hill portrayals, what scene would be the funniest in each and why?
Let's think about that.
That's a good question. I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, you are. We didn't even talk about that.
No, we had to do it live. It had to be a gut reaction. There's so many good ones that I could probably think of. Probably when Ray Liotta, if Ray Liotta could have been in the pet store.
Oh my
would
god!
have been really good when he notices the
you dirty rat.
You dirty rat.
Like, I know one guy that has
a bird
that said that.
Yeah. So it's that's a really funny scene too. He says he basically the older guy is like he's like they're basically calling each other like rat, a snitch, an informant, and then at the very end, the old guy Johnny Bird goes, "You dirty rat." And he goes, "I already said you dirty rat." And he goes, "Yeah, well I said it better." And then they hug each other. But I think that scene would have been awesome if the roles were reversed. And then similarly, I think it would have been really funny if Steve Martin's kind of like version of Henry Hill when they're beating up Billy Bats. I just picture him coming in as they're fighting, and he's like,
his face.
Whoa!
He's like, I realized my whole life I just wanted to be a gangster.
A gangster, yeah.
Dude, I still can't. I said this in the other episode. His never-ending bit, like that. I don't know how he pulls that off, but most people that overdo something like that,
his
it
like
just sucks.
portrayal.
After a while, you're like, this is tired. But for some reason, I don't understand how he keeps it.
He's like Jim Carrey. Like there's certain people like the over the topness works for him. Like in this movie, it works. Everything about his character works, which I thought was
like
awesome.
Jim Carrey or Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, nah.
Greatest ever do it.
Greatest ever do it. Nicolas Cage. That's Keith's boy.
I wish.
Great. Yeah. So what else did you have? So what scenes would you want to do?
I don't know. I'm not good at I'm not a good on the fly guy. I think.
Yeah. Well, good thing we have a whole podcast where we talk about topics on the fly.
Yeah, I know. You just really. So I think Ray Liotta in the supermarket would be hilarious.
Oh, in what time? The first time?
No, the second time when he
meets Sheldon.
When he meets Sheldon,
yeah,
he has to tell her,
"You could melt all this stuff." She's like, "Ah."
Oh no! How about Ray Liotta having to wear the hot dog outfit, hot dog suit, and pass out the first one? That would be
awesome.
So funny.
Or
it's at the end, but it's like at the end of Goodfellas where he's all coked up.
Yeah.
he's like, you kids. He's like all sweating.
He's like, hey.
Everybody's watching him. He's like, hey kids, you guys ready for the ball?
He's like, ah. That's wild. So,
and then Steve Martin in Goodfellas.
Just in general.
Let's see, where would he fit in? You covered Billy Bat's murder, right? That's what you said.
Yeah, that was my vote.
Yeah, I don't know. That's because I feel like that's probably the most logical.
Or the most logical place.
Oh no! How about when he has to weasel out of getting murdered by Karen? When he's laying down, when Karen wakes him up with the gun, and he's just like, "Hey, what's the big idea?" Oh, dude, we didn't talk about in Goodfellas. You say, "Don't get so excited." Why are we getting so excited?
Oh,
I thought you were gonna say we were talking about that scene. I was like, "Oh, dude, that's Nick's line."
That's my line. Why are you getting so excited?
Why are you getting so excited? Dude, could you imagine trying to tell Jimmy Conway why are you getting so excited?
Yeah, why are you getting so excited? I say that all. I know,
but like he says it a lot too. Like he could kill him at any point. He's like, "Why are you getting so excited?"
Why are you getting so excited? So we've talked about My Blue Heaven, and that was like kind of a family movie in a weird way.
There's no deaths. There's no kills.
Nah, not surprisingly.
What the fuck?
I fucking want my money.
There's
back,
one F word. So there's 300 F words in Goodfellas. There's one F word.
When he's in the grocery store.
Yeah, PG-13, you get one.
Yeah, you always get one. That could be a bonus episode. The top 10 best single use of the word fuck in a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, when they get the one. It's usually at the end of the movie. That one's like at the beginning.
It's 2 seconds in.
Yeah.
So we talked about that My Blue Heaven, like in my family, was kind of like I watched it growing up. Goodfellas was also a movie that we watched growing up. And like, I think I was telling, I never knew that connection, but it was always like I said, Goodfellas, we quoted that all the time. Like, this dog's looking this way, dog's looking this way. This guy goes, "Hey, what do you want from me?" Like we would say that all the time. in My Blue Heaven, the "What a day for a mo." That line that was all the time. It's just it's just so good. But then while we're on this topic, there's a scene that Steve Martin says, or that a line that Steve Martin says as Henry Hill, where he goes, he's talking about his wife or something. I think he tells someone that his wife died, and he's like, and then my wife, and he goes, I thought your wife was dead. And he goes, I only wish. I just think like how they got some of these lines for that movie versus like the seriousness and heavy-handedness in Goodfellas. Like I think it's creative it's two different types of creativity, which I just like thought was so cool.
Oh yeah.
And that's why we did this episode.
That's why we did it.
Yeah. What else you got? Any final remarks?
I think I talked about it in the last one. I kind of put like these little tidbits throughout, even though you told me just to save it for this one. But the fact that they were both talking to Henry Hill at the same time, both Nick Pileggia and Nora Ephron,
while they were
both writers of these movies. They were both basically she was obviously getting stuff from the interviews that he had for the book, and then the screenplay that he adapted. But she was also like she had private conversations where she was getting like other information that he didn't know was being used for a movie.
It's
and then
just
he's just
so
like,
great.
he's like, what the? I mean, I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know she was doing all that.
I would love to see Henry Hill in the theater watching My Blue Heaven. He's like, what the fuck did they do?
And it was cool. Another thing was they smuggled him. So a lot of that, so we were talking about Robert De Niro. He said De Niro would call him like 7 or 8 times a day.
Really?
To get cues
my
of
God.
like he's like, down to the point where, and what I was saying in the last episode was, it's interesting because Robert De Niro is playing his friend at the beginning, but in how his life goes, his mortal enemy.
Yeah,
so
that must have been weird how did that play out?
For every interview I've seen, the one thing they always say is he was asking him details like, how would he hold a cigarette? I need to know how everything down to how he hold a cigarette. But like 7 or 8 times a day, anytime before he would be going, he said he was like neurotic. Anytime before he'd be going on to film, he would call.
Yeah, and be like, make sure he's got this minor detail.
I gotta know this.
I mean,
they smuggled him on site because he was at that point in 1990. He was still pretty fresh.
Yeah, he was freshly kicked out of the witness protection program.
So he's pretty, and like Jimmy Conway's still alive at this point.
Yeah,
which is crazy. So like he's not.
It's wild.
He's living a pretty dangerous life. So they smuggled him on site to like get early screenings and have like a party and like meet up before.
That's so wild.
Like imagine that. Like so we're like, oh yeah, he was getting interviewed for this, but like at the whole time his location,
like the dude he's making a film of,
his location is disclosed the whole time.
Yeah,
or not disclosed.
Hidden. He's basically like
undisclosed.
Undisclosed.
Like he's hidden the whole time.
That's pretty wild.
Like that. I don't know how. I never heard how they were able to get the phone numbers and all that shit.
Very stressful. Crazy. That's Hollywood for you.
So I got one more quick fact about. I thought this was really interesting.
Sure.
So there's a guy. He was in good. So his character is actually in Goodfellas for 1 second. You know that intro scene where he's like, oh yeah, he's like walking through the club and he's introducing everybody.
Yeah. And
you got like what's his name? Johnny Two Time or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
he says every
get
2
the
times.
papers. Get the papers.
There's a guy in that scene who's a real mobster, and he has another. You know how Sammy the Bull has his own podcast.
Yeah.
And this other dude. I'm gonna say his last name wrong. Mikey Francese.
Yeah.
I say
Francese. Yeah.
It's
Francese.
I forget how to say his last name, but he's an actual dude. He was away. He got out of prison before the movie came out. He went to go see He went to go see Goodfellas in theater with his wife.
That's pretty wild.
Right? And I guess as the movie was starting, he's like, his wife was like, kept leaning over, like, is this really how things went? And he's like, yeah, this is pretty accurate. And then it gets to that point, they use his name. He's still, at that point, he's still a connected guy.
That's wild.
He was
probably like, fuck.
He didn't like disband from the mafia until 1995. So he was still a made guy.
Yeesh.
At the time in the theaters, he's like, they used my real. They had to get up and leave the theater. He's like, we can't
be here.
He's like, he thought he was being exposed. He's like, holy shit,
that's scary.
Like, how crazy is that?
That is.
But he has his own. He has his own YouTube channel where he did a My Blue Heaven video. I watched that where he talks about a couple things. That's where I got
cool.
That's where I got the fact where he's like this part would never happen. They would never put made connected guys or any kind of witness guys in the same time.
All in the same area. Yeah.
So I got a couple of tidbits from that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's actually portrayed in the movie.
That's pretty wild.
He's still connected. And they
used
his shit. So they didn't use everyone else's name.
Yeah. They just used him.
They used his name though. which
That's
is crazy.
pretty scary.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. But yeah, these are both very good movies. If you haven't watched it, I think it kind of like, just I hope this little bonus episode helped kind of contextualize a little bit of what these stories were about and kind of why we decided to review both of them. Did you have any other final remarks, or should we call it?
Well, another interesting thing is Pileggi also wrote the book and screenplay for Casino as well.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, they worked together on Casino.
Yeah, so
and it's another thing where that's another book that he wrote based off of real events.
Yeah,
and
well, probably because the guy who wrote the book, he was a crime reporter basically.
Yeah.
He knew a lot of the people in these movies. Like that's how he probably knew Henry Hill and stuff like that. Like because he worked with them, I guess, in some capacity. Yeah, that's interesting. We got to cover Casino too. That's a really good movie.
Yeah,
that's another good
I think I like Goodfellas better.
Yeah,
I don't know because for a while I liked Casino better. They go back and forth for me.
I know you said you confused Tommy's character.
Yeah, it's not like I get confused, but there's so many.
It's the same.
There's so many violent scenes in both.
Yeah,
and he meets his end in both, but differently.
But different. Spoiler.
And the other, I think the
other one is
way
way worse.
Is fucking
brutal.
Man.
That is nuts.
All right, so I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's your favorite Goodfellas, non-Casino, non-Godfather Part 1 or 2? What's your favorite mob movie?
Bronx Tale.
Okay, that's
Hands down.
That's probably the next one.
Yeah, that's such a great movie.
That probably is my. It's kind of a crazy take, but sometimes I think that's my favorite one, even with those names.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
One,
I mean, I think Bronx Tale is
that's my favorite one.
Yeah,
and that's Chaz Palminteri.
That was his. He was Cologito growing up.
Yeah.
Like that was his.
And that's crazy.
Yeah, that's so nuts.
And he wrote and directed that. I'm pretty sure.
I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
he plays Sonny in A Bronx Tale.
I always wanted he does live performances.
Does he really?
I forget if Alex at work said he saw it one time.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So mine is probably Bronx Tale, but Once Upon a Time in America, which also has Robert De Niro in it.
Yeah,
that's Sergio Leone.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big Western guy.
That's pretty
Clint
great.
Eastwood, Once Upon a Time in the West. But that movie is incredible.
Yeah, that one is really good.
And De Palma's Untouchables.
Oh, Untouchables.
That
really
one
great.
fucking crushes.
Yeah.
And there's so many good ones. Like Irish Mob, Miller's Crossing. That's Coen Brothers. They did that one.
And then we have Black Mass. About
yeah.
Whitey Bulger.
And you got American, like if you're talking about newer ones, American Gangster.
American Gangster was awesome.
But there's a one. Do you ever see Hoodlum?
Mm-mm.
That's a Chicago mob one.
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's just so many.
good
We got to do more.
Movies. And there's so many good Don. And okay, well here's one more question. If you had to pick one or the other, Godfather 1 or 2, Part 1 or Part 2.
Oh man, I guess Part 1.
Yeah,
just for the classic.
Part 2 is
of it.
amazing, but
Part 2 is really
good. I think Part 1
but
is just like it just has the classic. Everything
the classic.
About it's classic. Part 2 probably has better sequences and crazier shit happens.
Part 3 is like
so. 3, I want to rewatch. They did another cut of it.
Yeah,
and I want to see that. I have it. I just haven't watched it.
Yeah. Well, how about we wrap this one? I think that covers the Henry Hill story. What is this called? The My Blue
Fellow. The Henry Hill story.
Yeah. Great.
So stupid.
Yeah. So, like I said, if you guys enjoyed this one, definitely check out both of these movies. They're incredible. I will. Yeah. Keith, what do we got? You want to say goodbye to the people?
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we always appreciate listeners. And why did you do that to me?
I don't know. I'm really sorry.
Anyway, I don't like being put on the spot. We don't have a script ever, but you put me on the spot.
It's good. It keeps you honest.
Yeah, it keeps me honest. What would you say to close
He's a good
out?
fella.
Goodbye.
See ya.
See ya.
Anyway, all right, everybody. This has been What Are We Watching? Until next time.